In this tutorial, we're going to set up our lights. Alright, so up to this point we've added all of our materials and static meshes, and we've kind of gone through the set dressing process. Hopefully your level looks a little bit better than mine by adding some more static meshes and things like that on the interior, but you kind of get the idea of how this is supposed to work. And up to this point we've had a lot of exposure to a lot of the different tools, or a lot of the main tools that are set up here in the editor itself. Now we're moving into a new part, or a new section of the editor, and this is going to be dealing with lights. So the first thing that we need to do whenever we start working with lights at all is to go ahead and add a skybox, because it's always best to create your exterior light and then move on into interior light. So let's add in a sky. So let's go to our content browser, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to type in sky, and you'll see that we get a couple of skyboxes that we can choose. Now skyboxes are basically static meshes with textures or a material on them, and you could use either one of these. Now we only have a couple to work with, and it's ideal that you go ahead and create your own skybox, and they're pretty simple, but that's another time. So let's go ahead and grab this sky dome right here. I'm going to drag this into my viewport here. Now you'll notice that it places in here automatically, and if we close this down we can go to our top view and we can kind of see where that's centered at, and it's very large. Now if you want to make sure that this is completely centered, you can always kind of center that up a little bit better, but I don't think it really matters too much. Alright, so now we've got our skybox in, and let's hit escape just to deselect that. And we've got our skybox in, and whenever working with environmental lighting, it's important to kind of get an idea of where the light source is coming from. Now this one's kind of difficult because the light source is covered up, but we're going to have more light coming out of this area. Now whenever we create exterior lighting, we need to add in what's called a light mass importance volume. And what this is going to do is basically it's going to take just the area that's inside this light mass important volume and actually just build the light in there instead of building the light throughout the entire level itself. And you're going to notice a very drastic cut in your rendering time, okay, or your light mass building time. So to do that, let's go ahead and right click on our brush, and let's go ahead and make this 2048 by 2048. Okay. Now we can't see our brush, and we just need to hit B on the keyboard to bring that up. And then I'm going to set this to 1024 on the height, and let's actually type that in correctly. And let's actually do 2048 on this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close those parameters, and I'm going to grab this brush. I'm just going to make sure that this is covering up my entire level. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of put this on there. You might make that go just a little bit more, okay, a little bit higher on that brush, just to make sure that the edges match up properly. So it looks like we're off just a little bit. So this is going to be right out to the edge. I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go just a little bit higher. So I'm going to do 2050 by 2050. Okay. And then I'm going to close this, and you just want to make sure that your brush is basically snug right up against your level. You don't want it to go out too far here. So I'm going to bring this down. Let's go ahead and edit this under geometry mode. So I'm going to hold down Control Alt left click to use a marquee selection. I'm going to drag this down. Alright, so that's going to be pretty good. We're going to go ahead and close this, and then I want to build the light mass importance volume. So to do this, I'm going to right click on my volumes here, and it's going to give me a list. Now right here you're going to see your light mass importance volume. So go ahead and add that in there, and you can hit B, and you'll notice that we have kind of this yellowish green color, and it is a little bit different than your subtractive brush, but this is your light mass importance volume. Now you can always go ahead and edit this as well. So if you're not comfortable with the width on these, I'm just going to hold down Control and select all of those. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of move that out a little bit more. And this won't take effect until we actually build our lights. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put this up just give it a little bit more room to work with. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and close that. Let's leave that right where it's at. Now, building this light mass importance volume isn't going to do anything until we actually have a light in our scene. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to add in a dominant directional light. So we can build that by right-clicking in our scene, and we can go to Add Actor, and then we're going to see Add Light, Dominant Directional Light. Now this is an exterior light, and it can be positioned anywhere in your scene. It doesn't matter where. The only thing that matters on this light is its direction. So what we want to do is we want to kind of get an idea of where the light source is coming from. Now this is going to be behind my scene. I don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to rotate this object. So I'm going to hit my space bar until I go to my rotation tool. And you'll see that that is right here. Now that's going to make it rotate kind of weird. So I'm going to reset its pivot to right here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to set pivot point. I'm going to move that to here and then just rotate this around. Okay, continue to rotate that until our skybox is kind of in a better position. So what I'm looking at is trying to get this to be right around in here. Okay. So now I've got this light here, or that skybox, and now what I'm able to do is simply grab my light. Now that's kind of hard to see in the viewport, so you can always double click on that and go to your display, and you can set your draw scale to something a little bit different. So if you want, you can bump the size up on this by 3. Okay, and you'll see how that makes this a little bit bigger. Okay, or I'm sorry, not draw scale. Let's set that to 1. I meant the draw scale slider here. Let's try this one more time. Let's set this to 3. There we go. So now that we have that set, let's go ahead and rotate it to where it's kind of positioned with that sky. So I'm kind of trying to get the same sort of direction here. Now we can get pretty close if we wanted, okay, by going this way. Now we could also look through the light itself by clicking on this look through actor through selected camera. Okay, and now you can see here that this light, I'm now looking through it. Okay, so now I can just kind of move this with my camera, and you can see how the light's changing there. Now you can see the original pivot point of that light is there. Okay, but I am able to just kind of come in here and rotate this around, move this up. Okay, now the rotation is the only thing that matters on this. It doesn't matter about the position. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good value here. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that, and this will allow me to move in here. Okay, and I can look at my scene. Now a white light is really not realistic, so I'm going to double click on this light here, and let's try this one more time. And for some reason it's not allowing me to double click on that. There we go. Now I can go to light component, and then I have my advanced lighting options here. I can go to my light component itself, and here I can access my color. I can also access my brightness. So the color that I'm looking for is going to be kind of like this blue color. So I can try to choose that here in my color picker, or I could actually use this actual eyedropper or color picker here and get a little bit closer to what this light should look like. Now I'm going to bump that value up a little bit, just try to make that just a little bit brighter and give it a little bit more color. So now if I take a look at my lighting here, we're pretty consistent with what our skybox looks like. Okay, so you can see there that I didn't hit OK for my changes, so let's try this one more time. I'm going to bump this color up and kind of give it a little bit more value, see what that looks like. Make it just a little bit brighter. Okay, pretty happy with the way that color is going. Might just give it just a little bit less blue, a little more white. Okay, now let's hit OK this time. All right, so now that we've dealt with our exterior lighting and we've added in our skybox and our light mass importance volume, let's go ahead and build all. Okay, and we're going to let that go. And you're going to notice that the light mass building goes just a little bit faster. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and grab that volume, and it's building that static lighting here. Now before, whenever we were building this out, we didn't actually have any lights in here, so obviously it wasn't going to go very fast at all. Okay, now once we've built this out, I'm going to go ahead and just let this run through, and in our next lesson what we're going to do is we're going to get into our interior lighting, because remember, we want to build our exterior and then go to interior. Alright, so I'll see you in the next lesson.